How's it going, guys? My name's Seth, you're watching Petrol 360, and today we're finally going to be diving into some of the paint and body work on the truck cab. So I hope you guys didn't mind last week's video. I know the garage lighting isn't the most exciting thing in the world, but definitely improved my garage and the situation that I'm working in. So appreciate you guys putting up with that video. Now we're back on to working on the actual truck cab. So I had already started on the cab corners, so we're going to jump right into showing you the metal work that I've already got done, finishing that out. I didn't shoot tons of it until I got to the paint process, so let's go ahead and dive in. Well guys, I thought I was done with this rear cab corner, but I don't know why I didn't check the alignment of my door. You can see the new metal hanging out quite a bit. So I had a lot of issues with this front edge, and that is one line that I just did not check. I'm a little off here. You can see it gets a little wide, but that's okay because I'm going to have to put some Bondo in there to smooth some of that out. But I don't know why, I just did not check with the door. So the one thing is, and I think it's mostly the fender, you can see we got that gap here. And oh yeah, so that's a fender, I need to get that gap, but that's not going to cut it. Eating dinner, that was bugging me, but I think I figured out how I'm going to fix that, so get to work on it. Alright, well that actually wasn't nearly as hard as I thought it was going to be. Thankfully, my idea worked out. So the clamp is just kind of holding the bottom there, and essentially what I did was made some relief cuts in here on the back side, pretty, a good little ways up, and so I'll have to come back in and add all new metal back here and finish some welding here, and here's some rust that I don't think I'm going to replace actually. We'll see, but either way, this body line now works. There's going to be skim Bondo across this to get it all smoothed out, but that is a big relief for me. Now I've got to put a whole bunch of metal in here to fill this up. Alright guys, we're finally time to lay some color on these cab corners. I didn't bring you along for doing these because it's just paint and body work. Not too big of a deal, but I do have both sides done. They are both wet sanded to 600, and now they are ready to spray. All I need to do is wax and grease remove and then tack rag, and then I'll be ready to spray. And for spraying, and I apologize, got the heater running for a little bit, I'm shooting the same white that I used on the bumper. So the just Rust-Oleum, I am using hardener in it to help it kick off and be a little bit better. And this is going to be my first coat, shooting it through the old Harbor Freight little purple gun, because I need to get these cab corners white so I can patina them back to match everything else. So these are going white. The bed is also going white, which is outside, which I'm hoping to start. And then I've got to go get the color match blue. So I'm hoping to get that next week, but I wanted to go ahead and get this on here so it can cure, so I can scuff it to put the blue on top of that. So I'm gonna get all my paint mixed up, get all this prepped, and then I'll show you shooting the actual color. Alright guys, went ahead and got both the cab corners painted up as you saw. Couple lessons learned. One, too much overspray to keep the camera out here, so I stopped recording before I shot the first coat on the other side. Pulled the camera inside just to keep it clean. Second thing is that little gun is not the best. Even with this being a small job, I thought it was going to work really well, but I fought with it not having a wide enough spray pattern. I just had to make so many passes to work my way up that it's zebra striped. Which is fine for this because this is going to be the layer under, but for the next coat definitely going to use the full size gun. So bring you in, see if we can get it to focus. Yeah, so paint laid down, pretty smoothly. There's definitely some tiger striping in this. This one I tried to shoot a little bit thicker, and I got some runs in it. You can see that run there, and there's a pretty big one down there. Not the end of the world. Again, this is going to sit underneath another coat, but that pretty much wraps it up for tonight. I had the garage door open, airing everything out. Now I'm going to cut my heater back on, bring the garage up to 60 degrees or so that tonight this thing can kick off. So, well, honestly, it'll probably be next week before I start on this again, because I need to go get the paint from the paint shop for cab corners as well as the bed. So I guess I'm gonna need to start on the bed, but you'll see that next. Next morning, guys, and the cab corners have dried up. They actually dried up really well. They have pretty good sheen on them. You know, body work looks pretty flat. I'm definitely happy with it, but again, that's gonna get covered. So today's goal is to try and get this e-brake worked out. The e-brake components that are in this driver's side are missing, so I really only have this passenger side. So I'm gonna get that hooked up for both sides, but eventually I'm gonna have to redo that one. But I think I figured out how I'm gonna do this, just gotta tackle that. Then up here, I need to bleed these front brakes. With the rears bled, the pedal is still squishy. So bleed on these, and then the other main thing I need to do is I need to move this sway bar further back. So I don't know if you're able to see, but the actual wheel is contacting the sway bar when I turn it full lock, and it's tearing up the wheels and it makes god-awful noises. So I just need to take that mount and move it back. I think he just put it in, there's an existing hole on the F100 frame rail right there, and he only put one bolt in and he put it right there. So I believe I can just take that, move it back a little bit, drill some holes, and should be good to go. I'm trying to think if there's something else. I would like to paint up under here, get it looking nice and neat. And while I've got it off the ground, I've already painted the floor of the truck, but I need to paint the frame rails. I waited to paint those. So I think I'm gonna knock that out today as well. And yeah, just kind of go from there. So we'll get you guys updated as I'm working. All right, guys, getting close to closing out a weekend of working. I got the e-brake mostly hook up. Again, passenger side or driver side, everything inside of the wheel is messed up. But unfortunately, it seems like the driver side is as well, because even pulling the cord as hard as I can, it's not locking up this wheel. So looks like I need to buy rebuild kits for both these and tackle that. Another thing I went ahead and did, wasn't planning on it, but I fixed some pinholes that were up here in the cab, top of the cab. So backed those up with some metal, filled those in. The front sway bar has been moved back, so now I can turn the wheel full lock. The other thing I did under here is I adjusted the driver's side camber, but I didn't adjust the passenger side camber. So those are now adjusted and should be fairly close. I do still need to do an actual alignment on it. But got that. I bled the brakes up here. I may have gotten a little bit of air out of this side. I don't think I got anything out of the driver's side, but they do feel a smidge better, but it's just really hard to tell because that is a power steering master cylinder. So, you know, it feels good, it feels fine, but I'm interested to see what it feels like when I get on the road. Other things I did was cleaned out the inside a little bit, the carpet and everything. I've got this since I was welding up here. Didn't want any berries falling and burning holes in the seat. But I got the shift boot pretty much installed. There was also a massive oil leak on that side that I was able to get out with some carpet cleaner. So it looks a lot better. And walk outside and show the other piece. So the last piece was the actual bed itself. I came through and hit this entire thing with 600, wet sanded it. Of course, it's way too bright, so got all this scuffed up. I even came in with some 120 and smoothed out some spots that I wanted to get smooth. So the bed is pretty much ready to go with a coat of white. Now, seeing these big rust spots, I'm actually going to leave these because this bed needs to be patinaed. So a lot of these little edges and stuff that are rusty, I'm going to do like I did with the bumper and paint grease on them, so that whenever the paint cures up, this will actually fall off and the rust will be coming back through. That way it will look like it's been on there, because this bed is really rough. There's lots and lots of Bondo cracks in all of this, if you can see all that. So the bed's pretty toast, but you know, I want it to look like it's been on the truck for its entire life and not that somebody swapped it. So a lot of little extra things I'm doing to help get that, but not 100% sure when we get to do that because time just changed. It's getting dark earlier and I pretty much have to shoot this outside. Today would have been a perfect day, but I don't have the paint or the time. But you know, one of these days I'll get around to doing it and you'll see it. All right guys, time has finally come to put some paint on this bed. So like I said the other day, I went ahead and scuffed this thing, and tonight I went through, masked up the little bit of masking that I needed to do, and wet through and wax and grease remover this entire thing. And I also went back and over everywhere that there's rust, I put grease on. If you don't know what I'm doing there, go back and watch my video where I did a door for an F100 into like art as like a sign. So essentially what that's going to do is keep the paint from sticking there. So once the paint goes on, these spots will easily flake off and then our patina will show through. So kind of reverse patinaing. So this is all prepped and ready to go. I need to get blankets down so I can shoot this, and I need to get my paint mix, but let's go take a look at that. Okay, for the paint I'm using just regular white Rust-Oleum, same thing as I used on the cab corners. So hopefully two quarts will get me shooting through the Harbor Freight gun. I have, this is hardener for the oil-based paints, so you can put this in Rust-Oleum or Ace Rust Stop or this Magic brand paint, and it really helps it dry faster, glossier, and it's much harder. It really makes the cheap paint work a lot better. And I thin that with acetone, so let me go ahead and mix up as much as I can. I only have small cups, but I'm running out of daylight, so I'm a little rushed. But we'll skip to the time lapse. Alright, first coat's on. Not perfect, but not too bad. Definitely need to go back with the second coat because I want this nice and thick so I can sand down to it and not through it. But I only pretty much am going to sand on the top edges. So the edge of the bed rails and the edge of that fender, that's why I hit those first. Yeah, gonna let that flash and shoot again. Alright guys, well last night was a definite struggle, but I did get the bed painted. So I had some issues with the gun. I'm not 100% sure what was going on, if the gun is just old and wasn't cleaned very well, but essentially the gun was getting clogged up and wasn't spraying out very much material. So there's quite a few dry spots in this, but it's not too terribly bad. I think I figured out what happened. I think I just thinned the paint too much and it was drying on the tip as it was coming out, causing it to kind of clog up. But anyway, it is white. Decently glossy, not perfect, but so now we're going to have to go to the store, get some paint mixed up that's the correct color blue. We're going to quickly scuff this and shoot this blue again, so hopefully that's the next scene. Alright guys, so I went down to my local paint shop, got some single stage urethane mixed up to put on top of there. This should be the correct blue. It's a Volvo blue from 1985, so I have no idea what color this truck was, whatever, you know, the last owner used to paint it, but that's what they scanned it and what it seems to match out as. So that's what we got. I got 2 quarts. This isn't a full gallon, but just 2 quarts. This should be able to do the bed, cab corners, as well as our drip rail and any other parts. So hopefully this is enough. This is a 2K, so it should be pretty nice. This stuff is not cheap, even for 2 quarts. It's pretty pricey, but anyway, I'm gonna get this mixed up. I'm gonna be shooting out of the Blue Point gun since the Harbor Freight gun did not go well last time, but yeah, we'll try that one out. These have been wet sanded. I waxed and grease removed them and then got all the dust off of it and everything, so should be ready to shoot. Gonna mix up my paint and get ready to go. All right, so I got everything mixed up in the cup, about to start spraying it. This is blue over white. Blue does not cover very well, so don't expect much out of this first coat. It's definitely gonna look different, but I'm pretty hopeful that the paint is actually gonna be pretty close color-wise. I was worried earlier, but now that I've got it all mixed up and everything, it looks pretty good, so fingers crossed. So go ahead and apologize about the wind. It is windy, it is what it is, but cab corners came out really good. They're really nice and smooth. I took a lot more time prepping these, so they came out much nicer. You can also see the difference between the color. This new color is much darker. I'm hoping once we wet sand this and buff it back, it'll help lighten it up, but if not, no big deal. This is a patina truck, so different colors of paint are to be expected, but what I'm going to do now is I'm going to hit all the spots that I can't hit whenever I put the bed back on. So right along this area, I was able to wet sand, but I couldn't get the buffer in. So I'm going to go over this one more time real quick with like 1000 grit and then bring the buffer out here and smooth it out. That way there is no areas that I did not get and that you can see when the bed goes back on, because now's the time to do it. This is scuffed up to 1000, as you can see. I didn't get down in all of the low spots, but that's fine. We're gonna buff it out to make it look really nice, and again, the bed, you know, takes up this whole area. So again, if you haven't watched the video about me patinaing this truck out, I'm gonna use some Magic Turbo Cut. I actually really like this stuff now that I've used it for a while. It's water-based, so it cleans up super easy compared to the Meguiar's and other stuff. So use that, Harbor Freight buffer, and we'll go to town. All right, so got this corner all shined up. So again, all this that's behind the cab is now gonna match the rest of the body. I did buff a little bit into there and it helped the color change out a little bit. When I come out here, I am gonna wet sand this to get in a little deeper. So hopefully these two colors will blend together a little bit better. But again, not super worried about it. Oh, and then I had this happen. Right after I got done painting, I was looking everything over and I saw this and I thought it was the paint underneath failing and this stuff sagging, but actually turns out this was my airline rubbing up against the side of it while I was painting up here along the drip rail. So at first I was pissed, but then I remembered, oh yeah, this whole thing's gonna be patinaed, so it doesn't really matter. So honestly, you know, not upset about that. If it would have been the paint underneath failing, I would have been upset, but we're good there. Well, the paint actually wasn't a perfect match, but that's kind of okay. That's kind of the whole theme of this entire truck. You know, it's supposed to be a patina truck. It's going to be different colors and things like that, so it's not that big of a deal. Overall, the cab corners actually turned out really well. I learned quite a few things. There's definitely stuff I can do better next time, which, you know, there will definitely be a next time because I love these trucks and cab corners are a pretty common thing on them. So thank you guys for watching. If you like the video, make sure to hit thumbs up. If you have time, go check out the website, petrol360.co, and we'll see you guys next time.